Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon and Happy New Year to all of you. I'm so happy to see all of your smiling faces. Thanks for popping in with us this afternoon. We are here for our second of 3 RENEW ToT webinars for the 2021-22 school year. And just as a reminder, the sessions are scheduled for 2:45 to 3:45. I know that your calendar invitation or your registration invitation or confirmation might have said 2:30. So that's okay. The third webinar will start at 2:45 also. If you jump on at 2:30, that's fine. Just know that you'll have a 15-minute cushion there. As you heard, the session is being recorded. So once we have the recording archived and ready to go, we will post it on our patent webpage so that you have access to this recording and you can share it with anybody who might not have made it today, but might be interested in the conversations. We're represented today by our state team, myself, Karen Deary, and Kristen Starosta from the East office is here. I'm from our central office in Harrisburg. And Silke Caparelli is here from our West office. And Jeannie Hertzler has joined our team this year as well from the West patent office. She's not able to join us this afternoon, but you have seen her face and heard her in some of our other sessions. We also have the absolutely amazing Kristen Olsik here, who supports all of our behind the scenes work for RENEW as well as other initiatives. So Kristen, thank you so much. So if any of you have technology or registration questions and things like that, feel free to pop them in the chat box. You can also send them to Kristen Olsik if you have those logistical, technical kinds of questions. She might be able to help you. So with that, again, I just want to welcome you all to this session, which is meant to be for this afternoon, an opportunity and a space for all of you to get together and do some networking. So sometimes in these webinars, we will have a more formal program, such as the one we had in the fall, where we had, was it Brian Campbell who was here to talk us through Act 153 and other pathways for graduation. Today is going to be less informal. So I have a slide deck just to keep my own self organized and on track. But it really is an opportunity for all of you to have a space where you can just connect and talk through anything that's going on in terms of RENEW. So feel free to use the chat box as well as your microphone. I am happy to hear your voices, really. So please feel free to unmute at any time and just pop in with questions or comments or additions. With that being said, can we just do a quick around the room to see who is here? So I'm going to put up you should be able to see my gallery view, and I'm just going to kind of go around the room the way you are on my screen. I just want you to pop in and tell us who you are and where you're from. And we'll have opportunity, just as a quick, what IU you're from and what kind of region in the state that might be. So again, I am Karen Deary and I'm from our Central Region, Harrisburg Patent Office. So Karen Neefer.
Hi, I'm Karen Neefer, and I'm seeing Karens are representing strongly today. 3 Karens on the Zoom call today. I'm at IU 25. I'm TAC, and IU 25 is Delaware County. We're right outside Philadelphia. So if you don't know, that's where we are. So hi, everybody.
Thanks, Karen. Christina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Frazier. I'm TAC at AIU 3, which is down by Pittsburgh. Good to be here.
Great. Brian.
Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Kreutzer, TIU 11, which is South Central Pennsylvania. We cover Huntington, Mifflin, Juniata, and Fulton counties.
Welcome. Kelly?
Hi, I'm Kelly Heitschu. I'm from Westmoreland Intermediate Unit. I'm sorry, I'm home with the sick one today too. That's my dog. Neighboring county with Allegheny, so neighbors with Silke. Hi, Silke.
Awesome. Thank you. Marissa.
Hi, I'm Marissa Sacco. I'm with Intermediate Unit 1, and we service Washington, Fayette, and Greene counties.
All the way from IU 1. Thanks, Marissa. John Weatherby.
Hey, John Weatherby, I'm IU4. We're right on the Ohio border. Lawrence, Mercer, and Butler counties. We're kind of central in the state, but border Ohio. So
Awesome. Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Smith. I am TAC at IU6, so about 60 some miles north of Pittsburgh, Clarion County, Jefferson County, Forest, and Venango counties primarily.
Wonderful. Anita.
Hi, I'm Anita Heller, and I'm one of the RENEW trainers on the IU13 team, TAC team, and we're located in Lancaster County and Lebanon County.
Excellent. Denise.
Good afternoon, everyone. Denise Sugarts. I am part of our TAC team as a mental health coordinator, and I am partners with Brian in South Central PA, Huntington, Mifflin, Juniata, and Fulton counties.
Thanks, Denise. Amanda.
Hello, I'm Amanda Zimmer. I am also from IU3 in Allegheny County TAC. Thanks.
Annie.
Hi, Annie Grabowski, IU29, Schuylkill County, Central Region.
Great. Christine.
I am Christine Sanker from IU10, center part of the state, Center, Clearfield, and Clinton County.
Kendall.
Hi, I'm Kendall Mills, IU21 on the eastern border, Carbon Lehigh County around Allentown.
Awesome. Thank you. Karen Chambers.
Hi, Karen Chambers, IU4, Lawrence, Mercer, and Butler counties.
Great. Thank you. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn Moss, IU10 in the center of the state.
Thank you. Becky, do you have a voice?
I do have a voice. You just don't want
Good.
to see me right now. I am Becky Millspaw. I'm from IU23. That's Montgomery County. And we're nestled in between Chester County and Delaware County.
Thank you. I know a lot of the illness that's going around right now, people are losing their voices as well.
Not
Joanna.
so lucky, Karen.
Oh, no, right. Joanna.
Hi, I'm Joanna. Sorry, I didn't realize that my what is it called? Video is off. Sorry, I can't think. I'm Joanna Spinelli, TAC at IU20, which is Northampton, Monroe, and Pike counties. So in Bethlehem.
Thanks, Joanna. Now, are you connected through two devices, Joanna, or there's somebody else with your name and a different picture?
That's
Somebody else?
weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see Bianca's face with my name on it.
With your name. Is Bianca, are you here?
Yes, I apologize. I
that's
see my face and I didn't see that the name was wrong. So I'm Bianca McGrath. I am a colleague of Joanna's, also at IU20.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, Pam.
Couldn't find my mute button. Good afternoon. I am the other part of Anita Heller's group at IU13, Lancaster, Lebanon County. I guess the COVID hub right now with our numbers as crazy as they are. So whoo, raise the roof. Hope all is well. The voice thing is true. I'm not COVID, but I don't have a voice.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty common right now. A lot of people are losing their voices. Well, thanks for hanging in with us. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Meyer. I'm from IU9, and we service Elk, Cameron, Potter, and McKean counties.
Thank you. Doreen.
Hello, I am Doreen Milet. I work with Annie Grabowski with IU29, and we service Schuylkill County.
Great. Brida.
Hi, I'm Brida Drum. I am from IU4, which is Mercer, Butler, and Lawrence.
Welcome. Uh-oh. My whole screen just changed. Somebody must have come in. Okay, I have Adrienne next. Stetler.
Hi, everybody. I'm Adrienne Steitler from IU28. That's Armstrong and Indiana counties.
Thank you. Chris.
Wait, back to Adrienne. Is that real snow?
No.
No, but it should be.
Yeah.
I hope it's coming. Okay.
I don't like snow, but I would rather it be snowing than cold and no snow.
No.
So that's my.
I'm with
No.
you.
No, I disagree. I'm sorry. I hate snow.
Oh,
Chris,
and I'm wearing my
Bokolich.
pajamas inside out tonight. Isn't that what you do so that we get snow? That's, yeah. Mhm.
I'm Chris, Bokolich, IU1. I work with Marissa Sacco.
Thanks, Chris. Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Fenner, IU20, same as Joanna and Bianca, so Northampton, Monroe, and Pike County.
Welcome. Ryan.
Hi, everyone. Ryan Gill, I'm IU10 with Dawn and Christine. We're in the center of the state, in the State College area, and I'm IU TAC.
Perfect. Thanks. Jamie.
Yep. Jamie Lill, Bucks IU 22, right outside of Philadelphia. Hey, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you. Mike Lord.
Michael Lord, IU 16, Northumberland County, Union, Columbia, Montour, Snyder.
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you here. Erin.
Hi, I'm Dr. Erin Grimm. I'm from the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, and we service Allegheny County.
Wonderful. Welcome. So now I'll open it up to anybody who I missed, because my gallery view changes every time somebody unmutes or turns their video off or on. So I don't know now if I missed anybody. Is there anybody who hasn't introduced? Looking through.
We caught 29 people plus yourself, myself, and Kristen. So I think we're good.
Okay.
Make 33.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I think we can be done. What a great show.
Are we done? Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is reinforcing to see that like everybody that's here and knowing that you are all available and accessible relative to Renew. So that's just, it's awesome. I think we can call it a good day. Erin.
But we're not going to end. So if you want to hang around for a little longer, we'll continue. So I will just remind you of Patton's mission to support the efforts of the Bureau of Special Education and PDE's commitment to providing education for students in the least restrictive environment across the Commonwealth. So our agenda today is going to be, I have a lot of buttons on here in our agenda, but again, I want this to be an open space. So that's how the agenda is arranged for all of you to share more than Silky and Kristen and Jeannie and Kristen and I would be sharing. So I'm going to give you some prompts, but this is really your space to rise and shine today. So the first thing that we're going to start with is an opportunity for you to share some celebrations and or to share anything new or innovative or ideas or resources that maybe you have come across that would be beneficial for the whole group relative to Renew. So what I want to do first, I do have, I have a resource that I would like to share with all of you, but I don't want to take your space. So what do you have to share in terms of any kinds of celebrations or successes or resources that you've recently come across? You are welcome to pop something in the chat or to, as I said, prefer that you just unmute and share with us. Anything?
I'll share something.
Thanks, Kendall.
I did Renew with a student when I first became a trainer, and he graduated about 2 years ago, and I keep in contact with him, and I recently talked to him, and he has a job working for FedEx, which our goal was always to get a job. So that's fantastic. And as he wrote to me, he kind of wrote to me his goals for the next few months, which was exactly how we used to work when I worked with him. So it was awesome.
I love that. I love, Kendall, number one, that you're still keeping in touch and that he's still coming back to you with updates for his own life. But I also love the fact that he was able to really adopt the good principles that you taught him through Renew and is still applying those. How important and how exciting.
It's pretty awesome.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Who's next?
Karen, I'll share.
Hi, Courtney.
This is Courtney Fenner from IU20. To be honest, I don't have like specific relationship or a school to highlight. I'm hoping to hear more about one of our schools tomorrow. So my celebration is that we continue to expand in IU20 each year. We've brought on more schools, or we are helping teams that already existed expand. So we did bring on our alternative school. Our Colonial Academy this year is brand new, as well as we have an additional 6 who are going through facilitating the PD from another school that we've already implemented with. So I'm happy to see more people getting the program, but I don't yet know if there's specific successes yet there. So I'm excited to hear from them in the future.
No, that's great. I love the growth that's happening in your region. And Courtney, it might come up a little bit later where you might be able to share some of the ways that you guys have been able to grow Renew in your area. So I'll kind of put that little seed out there for you for an upcoming conversation in a few minutes. Can we go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
With IU1, we actually, after years of talking about it, implemented in our alternative programs. And I am at one site in particular, and that's Intermediate Unit 1 at Lab. And it is going very well there. The students have really embraced Renew, and we're continuing to move forward with it. It's been somewhat slow with the breaks and the lack of substitutes and some quarantines here and there and different things like that we're all facing that we didn't necessarily face 3 or 4 years ago. But we are moving forward, and the students are pretty much almost through the mapping process. And it's kind of been facilitated in a way because I go on site almost every Monday and help in whatever capacity, whether it's being the sub in the room for 40 minutes so that some of the maps can be done, or because of the number of students versus the number of staff that's actually trained, I've facilitated maps as well, which in this capacity I can do because in supporting that classroom, I know it very well, and I am kind of a consistent person there. So that's kind of where we are with it, and we're hoping this continues in our other buildings.
Oh, me too, Marissa. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Are any of you finding that, so we know that obviously the state of the country right now in the world is a little challenging, and we're coming up with some barriers that we didn't have before. Are any of you finding any easement in making those connections with youth that maybe were more difficult before because the kids don't come to school, their attendance isn't great, so they were missing the opportunities to work with you through the mapping or the teaming process? Are any of you finding any kind of successes or increased connection with youth because we're all more comfortable in a digital platform, that you're able to connect with students even when they don't show up physically?
Well, I can say, just jumping in here, working with Marissa and Melissa Hunter here at IU1, that we kind of divided up our 3 campus schools, and like Marissa said, she's been doing a fantastic job at Lab. I've been assigned to the Waynesburg campus, and it's been a lot more of a struggle at the Lab or at the Waynesburg campus because we've had several teachers having to be out. They were facilitators as part of our training that have had to be out due to COVID. We've had some of the kiddos get the COVID, and we've had to, which has really delayed the process as a whole. So it's been kind of, one step forward and then, several steps back. But I continue to monitor and check up to see how they're doing with the mapping. They've done some mapping with one or two students, but again, the circumstances have really hindered any further progress.
Of course, completely understandable. Great. Well, I want to thank you all for sharing. I don't want to squash anybody's opportunity. So please feel free to continue to jump in if you do think of something that you want to share and celebrate. I wanted to share one resource with you that I found just this morning. It was shared with me. I was in a session this morning. I think Jamie Lill was in the session as well on teacher clarity for the past 2 days. And in one of the breakout rooms that I was a part of, we visited or somebody shared with us a strategy for helping students to write goals. And I thought, oh my gosh. And actually the strategy was shared in terms of writing goals for schools, school improvement plans. But when I went in and researched the strategy, the first hit that I actually got in a Google search came up with introducing students to this goal setting strategy. So I really thought it was a nice way to just help kids walk through, you know, how to identify a goal and how to work through, again, a more structured approach to writing and thinking about that goal. So the strategy is called the WHOOP method, and you can find it. This one happens to be on Panorama Ed, but if you want the original citing for WHOOP or the site, it's at whoopmylife.org, which I just think is so cool, and kids would have a lot of fun with that. But when I take you into this site, this is the Panorama education site, and it takes you through a really easy introduction and explanation of what WHOOP is. And WHOOP is actually an acronym, and it stands for, right here, wish, outcome. Let me enlarge this for you just a little bit. It stands for, W is wish. So what is a wish that you have for your future? So again, starting to narrow down from maps 8, 9, 10, like what are your goals? What are your, you know, way off North Star goals and versus what are your more immediate goals? The first O stands for outcome. So what would be the best result that you could get from accomplishing your wish or for meeting that goal? The second O considers an obstacle. So what are the obstacle, or what is something in yourself that might prevent you from accomplishing your goal or fulfilling that wish that you identified? So again, that takes us right back to that challenges and barriers map. And then the P stands for plan. But this is a way to, the plan actually refers to not the action plan that you would implement for the obtaining the goal. Planning in this instance or in this process is all about the obstacle. How will you plan to overcome that obstacle that you identified? So it gives it a little different spin, and a piece that I think isn't as visible in any of the planning processes that I am in, you know, and you guys know I'm a state trainer for Renew, but also for Check and Connect. I'm also, you know, working with school improvement. So I do a lot of goal setting and action planning and those kinds of things. And that systematically and intentionally planning for dealing with and overcoming the obstacle that's identified is a piece that's missing from a lot of the processes. So check out WHOOP on Panorama Education or on whoopmylife.org. And it's really nice. You can go in and get, you have to submit your email address, but eventually you can get this small group activity document. You can download this. So it's small group SEL facilitation guides. There are 6 activities included in this guide, and they are make a face, the positive pivot, rose, bud, thorn. This is a journaling activity. 2-word check-in. That's a quick and easy. You could do that in less than 5 minutes. Lunch bunch, and then you'll see your WHOOP document on page 11. And it's just a 1-page description of how you can take kids through this WHOOP sort of process very kind of quickly. So that's just a new resource that I was introduced to this morning that I thought fit so well into some of the processes and the structures that we already have in place. Is anybody familiar with WHOOP? Do you use this? This was shared by one of our school improvement facilitators. She uses it with her school improvement teams when they get through the goal, when they get to the goal identification and setting part of the cycle of continuous improvement. So I didn't know if anybody else was familiar with that. No, not hearing anything. Okay, check it out. Okay, so the next thing I want to ask you is, what can we do for you? You all are out in the field. You're working so hard. You're doing such a great job with promoting Renew, supporting your team, supporting your facilitators. What is it that we can do for you? What are the asks that you have of us right now that we want to make sure we either can address now, or we can make sure that we follow up with you or table it for another time? Or are there future topics that you feel like we're really remiss in addressing in some of these webinars or our booster sessions or whatnot that you'd like to see? So I'm looking for any kind of questions, requests for support, anything you need that we might be missing. Feel free to unmic, pop it in, or unmic, or pop it in the chat box throughout the session. Okay, I'm really trying to practice my wait time, but I feel like if you had something, you'll put it in the chat, or you would have unmuted and asked by now. We do want to I want to acknowledge that we appreciate all of the feedback that we do get from you continuously. So one of the things that we're in the process of doing right now for you is updating all of the materials. So you all know that we have the new website, and I'm going to make sure that everybody knows where that is and how to access that in just a minute. But we are working continuously to make sure that we have the materials organized in a way that makes sense to all of us, that all the materials that are needed are on there and easily accessible for you, that you know how to navigate the site and those kinds of things. So we'll be getting together in a week or two to work on continuing those updates, as well as bringing in any new information from University of New Hampshire that they share with us, and getting that stuff up and on deck for you as well. So again,
Karen, let me just follow up and reinforce. By alignment, we mean that we want to make sure that all the documents, like the onboarding documents that you use to bring a school on board, we're no longer asking for a building level coordinator, because we don't need that name to tie that person to P-TRAC any longer. So those are nuances that are going to change. Some of you are going, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And some of you who have been with Renew for a while, remember that we used to have Renew building level people access P-TRAC and enter the data, and then TAC would enter the data from the RIC and the RIT. So imagine that moving into late spring, we will clarify, it'll be crystal clear, the data entry for Renew. So when we say align, we realize that some of those changes that have been made at this level have not been made in those documents. So it is we've reserved our calendars to get all of that information cleaned up. And one more seed planting moment here is that imagine, the tools that we have for Renew include the RIC and the RIT, and then there's a plethora of other tools in that toolbox to help you support Renew facilitators and Renew teams. Well, we will be introducing 2 tools that will help us help ourselves as Renew trainers in the field, and they are phenomenal. One is just on your Renew skill sets, and one is on the Renew training itself. When you do that Renew training for facilitators, it's like a checklist. It's really awesome. So we look forward to sharing those with you in the future and putting them on the website and actually spending some time to unpack them with you. So stay tuned. Karen.
Great, thanks, Silky. And then the one final thing that I wanted to acknowledge is the support that you all are giving in not only helping us to identify where some of those things need to be updated, also the support that all of you have been giving in providing opportunities for us to co-train with you. So please remember to reach out to us when you have those facilitator trainings coming up, or you have team trainings or whatever. coming up. As you do start to hopefully onboard some more teams in the future, reach out to Silky, Jeannie, Kristen, and I, depending on what region you're in, for, you know, whatever support you need and whatever, if you want us to co-train with you. Some of you have been joining us to co-train in the facilitator trainings last year and this year. Our final day 3 for this year is tomorrow. So thank you for that support as well. But remember to just kind of reach out to us, as we will not, we don't have plans right now to hold those larger facilitator 3-day trainings as a state team. So just as a reminder for upcoming events, this is sort of our Renew calendar that we had shared with you at the last ToT webinar. So just reminders that we have one more booster coming up. It will be a repeat of the September session. So if you came in September, do not, yeah, Doreen, there is a WOOP app. I haven't even gotten a chance to check that out yet. Do remember, if you didn't join the booster in September, please come to the one in February. Remember that part of your commitment to be a Renew ToT is that you attend one booster each year. So come on February 3rd. Registration is required. I'll get to that in just a second. Obviously, we have our webinar number 2 today. Webinar number 3 is on April 7th. And again, to fulfill your commitment as a Renew ToT, we ask you to join 2 of these 3 webinars. So obviously, you're here today. If you didn't make the one in the fall, then we'll see you on April 7th. If you were here in the fall and you're here today, April 7th is optional for you. It will be new content. It's not like the booster. It's not a repeat. It will be a different webinar. So you might get something different. I will point out to you though, same thing as I did at the beginning of the session. The session is 2:45 to 3:45, but your invitation will probably say 2:30. If you log on at 2:30, just be prepared to kind of hang out for 15 minutes until we start. Registration required by Zoom, and I will show you that in just a second as well. And then again, as I said, we had our 3-day facilitator training hosted by Patton this year. Our 3rd day, which is the half day, day 3, is tomorrow morning. Again, thank you to those of you who are helping us to present that. And again, when you have sessions coming up in the future, if you have not shadow trained with one of your state trainers, make sure you get in touch with us, and we'll help you and make sure you fulfill that shadowing request as a new ToT, as we will not be hosting, we don't have plans to host that session in the future from Patton. And then we have the Equity is MTSS session in November. So just as a reminder, you do have access to the Renew ToT 21-22 calendar and connect information, this document. So you can find this here. And this has the registration links if you need to register for the booster number 2 or for the April 7th ToT webinar.
I also provided the link from the Renew Training Resources website, so it'll land you right on that website as well. And those are all live links, easy to. We really appreciate your attending. And as Karen said, any ideas, any direct supports, and if you're like, you know, I could really use a little bit more of a deep dive for day 2 activity or whatever, please reach out and let us know.
So Silky did a great, made a great segue into just, again, reminding you that we do have, in addition to the tiny URL, which is still up and running and accessible for you, we have our Renew Training Resources Google site. So as Silky said, once you get here, you can access all of those, the calendar with the direct links, all of those kinds of things. For your convenience, here's the link to this Google site in the chat box for you. If you haven't been in here, we're not going to take the time today to navigate through this, but if you haven't been here yet, or you haven't been here recently, make sure you go in and take a look around. This again is one place where we invite you to provide any feedback for us on the organization, the contents, all of those kinds of things. But just go in and take a look at the new site. Hopefully you find it as user-friendly as we would like it to be for you. You can order your manuals from there. Yeah, everything, your training materials are there. It's ready to go. Okay. With that, I'm just checking time. So what I'd like to do now is take us in the booster, the first booster in the fall. So this would be repeated in the spring. But I wanted to circle back to something that we looked at because we didn't get a whole lot of time to spend with each other, just kind of talking through this. In your Renew manual, in the new one, the purple one, on page 20, you'll see this graphic depicting the Renew implementation process. And in this time, the reason I wanted to circle back to this is because at this time, the numbers of teams that we're bringing on board with Renew and the number of facilitators that we're training is not kind of as robust as we would hope it to be, if we would like it to be, or as we don't have the same momentum that we had been gearing up for. And again, because there's new and different competing initiatives right now. So, but we thought that this would be a nice time to just be able to meet with each other and have some conversations about where are the barriers in terms of this implementation process. So what are you seeing? And this is just food for thought for right now, as I ask these questions. But I want to know, like, what are the areas? So is it in the exploration and adoption portion, or is it in the installation, these actual bringing facilitators on board and getting them up and running? Or is it in the sustainability of implementation, where you're finding some of your challenges or your barriers to moving Renew forward? And then I'd also like you to think about, let me just put you in notes mode so you can see the questions that I'm asking. And I don't know if you can see those or not in the notes. But what I want to know is which of those areas presents the most barriers or challenges for you? And then I want to know, what are you doing to help overcome those? So this is where I was asking Courtney to kind of think about, and any of you, to kind of think about how are you, so I'll go right back to WHOOP, like, what is your obstacle and what is your plan for addressing that obstacle and overcoming that obstacle? And the other thing that I would like you to think about is, what are the other initiatives, whether you're connected to those other initiatives or not, what are some other initiatives that are kind of would welcome something like Renew as a collaborative sort of support or strategy that would go right along, like mesh right along with it. So for example, I was thinking of, like, in school improvement, a lot of the goals in our plans deal directly with attendance and graduation, right? And that's why schools were designated, regardless of the level of designation. That's what they're dealing with, and that's what we're seeing in their plans. So Renew is a great strategy to bring into that. Some of you might be familiar with and might be even working with SSIP, which is focused on increasing graduation rates for students with disabilities at the high school level. In addition to that, we have P2G, Pathways to Graduation, which is our OSEP grant currently, where we're working at the middle school level to reduce the risk or the likelihood of students dropping out of school in the future. So we're starting with middle schoolers in P2G. Obviously, it overlaps with MTSS. So just thinking about what other initiatives you could collaborate with, whether you're a part of those or not. And to start thinking about, who would it be, if it's not you, who would it be that you would connect with, either through Patton or in your intermediate unit, or if there's somebody in an agency, like, who is that position or even that person by name? So all of that being said, what I'd like to do is let me create some breakout rooms and ship us off into, I'm just looking at the number of people. So let me create, I'm going to create 9 rooms. So that's going to give us a small, 8 rooms. That's going to give you a small group to just kind of talk through these questions. So looking at page 20, I'm going to pop the questions in the chat box for you, and you should be able to grab those when you get to your breakout room and just have those conversations. When I look at the time, I have 3:25. I'm only going to give us like 7 minutes, and then I'll pull you back.
So make sure you have your manual available. I put in the chat box a link to day 1 facilitator training, which has the electronic copy of the manual. So you can click on that manual and flip right to page 20. Thanks, Karen.
Actually, yep, I meant to do that. Thanks, Sophie. And I will put, actually, here's the link right to the manual that you can get.
Super.
Right there. All right, off you go. We'll see you back in 7. State team, don't feel like you need to join. Let's just talk, chat for a little bit.
All right.
Do you want to stop the recording, Sophie, while they're out?
Sure.
Great, thank you. All right, I want to hear just some, so I want to see your faces again. So I want to hear from you some of the overarching themes that you had in your discussion. So I'm just going to go from room to room. Oh, do you remember what rooms you were in? Probably not. No. Okay, then forget it. Then what I'll do is you just jump in and tell me, somebody from each room jump in and share with the group, what were some of the overarching conversations that you had? Kendall starting us out in the chat box with time for training without subs and time in teacher schedules to see kids to map. So is there anybody who, okay, let's look at, okay, getting staff to trainings up and everybody's agreeing. So let's unpack that a little bit. Is anybody finding, did you get to that point in your conversation? Is anybody finding any ways to sort of overcome that obstacle? Or what is your plan for addressing the time that's needed both to train facilitators and teams, as well as to meet with youth to complete the mapping or get their youth teams together?
Karen, if I could just share real quick, this is Erin from IU3. I think one of the biggest things that really helps, even if we are virtual, is to make sure you schedule consistently. So if all of us were in a group before we close today, like, hey, let's check our calendars. What's the next date we can meet in February? And get it on there and keep going. If you can go out in advance and schedule for the rest of the year till June, then it really helps. And that consistency then is helpful for all the stakeholders involved and can really make things work, hopefully with fidelity. But you can certainly do it virtually where you might not need as much time. You're not traveling from building to building or even within your building for substitutes and things like that. You can jump on a Zoom for even if it's 15 minutes, check in, whatever, and make it happen. But scheduling consistently so it can be expected and everybody knows what's ahead is important.
That's a great idea. And that's such an important point that you make. And in fact, there's 2 important points that you bring up in there. And one of them is getting these stuff on the calendar. Anything that you can get on the calendar in advance will lead to a better likelihood that people will be able to attend those sessions. So I always find it helpful as well to get things on the calendar as far out for the rest of the year as you possibly can. And I think the other thing, one of the positive things that this whole situation has brought about for us is the flexibility that we have and the creativity that we have now in bringing people together. We do save so much time by not having to commute because we're all much more comfortable in this sort of virtual space than we were before. we might not be more comfortable here than we are in person, but we're more comfortable navigating through a virtual space for these types of things. So being able to meet, to provide those trainings or the support, the coaching, and to meet with the youth. It's not maybe what we would want or what would be ideal, but we do have that option. And for a lot of our school-age children, regardless of the age or the level, they are very comfortable working in a digital space, in a virtual space, more so than we are. And that's more, that is more accessible, and they would prefer to do that in a lot of cases. So this, not everything, there are some silver linings and some positives that are coming out of this new sort of workspace that we have. Silky shared a document in the chat box with us. Thank you. A document about ways to find time. And I know on our state team for school improvement, we have our human capital consultant or specialist is working very hard to help fill some of those gaps in staffing and again, just flexible and creative ways to make sure that everybody's covered in the way that they need.
I'm listening just real quick to Marissa Stacco. I can hear her words resonating, how she shared earlier that, she's going in, and not saying that's not for everybody, right? But that is a solution given that scenario that seems to be working. So bravo to problem solve, Marissa, and go, okay, so here's how I can help. And again, that wouldn't be for everything. We're not suggesting that all RENEW ToTs do that by any means. But just in thinking about problem solving and finding out what works. Karen.
Great. So thank you for that. What else some other rooms, were you having any other different conversations? Where else were you finding a barrier? And what are you doing with that?
I was in breakout room 8 with Denise Sugarts. I'm sorry, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But we talked about, and this is one of the things that we need to address in that we're supporting, students who who hopefully will transition back from the alternative setting to their home districts. When they do that, our districts don't have anyone trained and don't implement Renew. So we want to make sure that we kind of bridge that gap. And, we decided that the one thing we're seeing in our data is that many of our students in our alternative programs are with us at least a year. So that does give us time to set that foundation and to go start the process with them. And we're hoping that when districts see that it's working, we can then have that conversation again with our districts and say, look, now this is something that we need to have in your buildings because we want to continue and provide that support for the students. So, we don't have a crystal ball with that, but we're optimistic. And again, it's something that our data told us, was needed with our students. So we kind of forged ahead with that. And we're also still trying to think out of the box and looking at some of the agencies that support our districts and reaching out to them to see if maybe they would at least like to get the overview to understand what Renew is. So when they're providing services, that this might be an option down the road for them as well.
Great proactive thinking and planning, Denise and Marissa, for sure. We have to think about that. And I know we often have those conversations, not necessarily returning from an alternative placement or setting, but also just moving from one school to another within a district. If I have an 8th grader that I'm working through the Renew process with, and they're going to be moving on to the high school next year, I want to be able to that student to continue that process. Just like we were talking about earlier, when you have students that you've worked with and now 2 years later, they're out of school and have a job and they're still connecting with you to share whatever's going on in their life, or to share their goals, or to still ask for some support through those types of strategies. We have to think about how we're going to continue to support these kids when they do move from one place to another, regardless of what that movement is. So such important to be making those plans and thinking about that for the future. Let me ask you this then. What other initiatives did you all talk about? Did you get to that question? What other initiatives did you talk about that you could tap into as a way of bringing Renew to maybe broader audiences? And who were those positions or those people that you would connect with to start those conversations?
Erin, it's Doreen from IU29. I shared in our group that just this morning we were having a P2G meeting with one of our districts, and we're really honing in on one young man that's is very intelligent, but is really heading down the wrong path, and we're just trying to strategize and what we can do. And beyond Check and Connect, the social worker that was on the call was talking about how the student is frequently stopping in to check with her and talk with her. And I'm just sitting here thinking, and I asked her, I said, do you do something formal when he comes? Like when he's coming and he's talking, do you capture it somehow, do whatever? I said, because I think we need, I said, I want to introduce you to Renew, because I think you could do some mapping with him and get him, so I think it can happen just naturally as part of a P2G process.
I agree. And it comes up in the schools that I work with in P2G. Renew always comes up as well. For those kids who maybe Check and Connect just isn't going to be enough, because Check and Connect is supported by P2G. But when Check and Connect might not be the right fit, or it might not be the intensity that is needed, then we definitely bring in Renew, because it just fits so nicely. So P2G for sure.
Karen, I brought up, because we share this in common, I brought up how it can be part of comprehensive school improvement as well as ATSI. We did not, for the cyber school I'm working with right now, we did not even have Renew on there. They didn't even include it on their plan. So I think that there needs to be common conversation even amongst, I would say, people above my pay grade, for lack of a better term. In talking about Renew and Check and Connect. Christine and I were in Check and Connect training. And one of the things I kept saying about Renew is when these students are ready to take control over what they want to do with their lives and really helping them make that leap. Check and Connect is more when they still need that adult support to help them get through that process of thinking through those 5 steps. But I don't see it coming, I don't see it seeping into some of the other big things that our schools are doing if we don't do it.
And Becky, you're so right. And I appreciate your connection to the continuous improvement, because again, as more and more schools, and I'm happy to see that more districts and schools are seeing the benefit in that continuous cycle of improvement for planning and implementation and monitoring outside of federally designated schools. So we're seeing this whole process expand, and also through the accelerated learning and the roadmap materials and whatnot from PDE, so that we definitely have more space now, I think, to bring in the conversation about Renew and how it really could support these really struggling students who, like you said, Becky, so nicely, are ready. They're at that crux where they're ready to take over their own lives and be in control of those, but they just need a system for how.
Karen, can I ask an ask? Because you asked that earlier.
Absolutely.
So my ask is, it would be very nice for our state, whatever committee that you think this should be appropriate for, could actually put together, just recommendations of when to think about Renew and when to think about Check and Connect. And that way it would help us in the field, instead of just saying, hey, Becky thinks this is a good idea. And those I have relationships with say, hey, Beck, we'll try to give it a shot. We got to do to get this done. Other than, hey, this is coming out. I think about some of the things you saw in accelerated learning and also thinking about, we need a little bit more, I don't want to say, we need a little bit of power behind it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like a little bit more formality. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Silky is taking notes on anything that we need to follow up on. So we have that and captured it. Great ask, Becky. So with that, we are a minute over, and you guys are busy. It's the end of the day. I don't want to keep you. If you have anything that you want to hang on and ask or request, or you have a need or something, please do that. I'll hang on for a minute. Otherwise, I want you all to take an opportunity to wind down, enjoy your evening, relax. Tomorrow's Friday. It's been a long week. I don't know why this first week back is so long, but it has been a long week. So enjoy, relax, refresh, rejuvenate, refuel. Let us know what we can do for you, but take care. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.